President Trump calling for action on mental health after yesterday's deadly shooting at a high school in Parkland, Florida that killed at least 17 people. The tragedy reigniting the debate over mental illness and the law surrounding gun ownership. Here with me now to discuss, Gina Loudon, Donald J. Trump for President Advisory Board, and Heather Higgins, Independent Women's Voice President and CEO. Gina, I want to start with you. You've done some work in this area. By the way, we should also let the audience know you live in Florida and you're not far from where this incident went down.
No, that's right. And I was there yesterday. I'll be there right after I get done here on the scene talking to the students. And I can tell you, Charles, the one thing that I'm not hearing out of media that I am hearing when I'm talking to the students, talking to my own children today after they came home from school, and most people didn't go to school today, they're saying they want this particular incident to make a difference. They don't want it to be a flash in the pan where we talk about it for 2 days in media and then it's gone. They want it to make a difference. They want meaningful changes to happen so that this never happens to another school.
What's a meaningful change with respect to the mental health issues?
A meaningful change, I think there's some great ideas on the table, but I think we all have to grow up an adult here and shed our partisanship. Take the gun issue off the table for just a moment. Let's talk about what we agree on. Most of us think it would be great to put veterans in schools who are armed and tactically trained to be there in plain clothes, like we have air marshals on airplanes, so that killers like the one yesterday don't know that they can walk into a school, identify a security guard, avoid him, and get away with murder and then casually walk out. The one thing we learned yesterday is this killer wanted to live. Unlike some of these mass shooting suicides, this guy wanted to live. And that's why he chose this school in a gun-free zone. So let's put some people there. Let's take the guns off the table. Let's talk about who we can put there to make meaningful change in these incidences.
Heather, what are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. In that almost all of these mass shootings have occurred in areas where the shooters know that there isn't going to be anybody there to take them out. And
gun-free zones.
Gun-free zones. It is a big invitation to somebody who is determined to kill other people. On the issue of, or just to further that point, there is an obligation on the part of the schools, right? We don't know how much the school knew, but particularly if the school knew that this guy had made the threats that are now being talked about, him having made on his Facebook page, it was incumbent upon them to do more than just say, don't come back to school with a backpack. The other problem that you've got, though, is this false dichotomy between too many guns, or is it just that we don't have tough enough rules about people with mental health issues? Both of those have correlation and causation problems. And if we have limited resources, really the thing we ought to be doing is going where there actually is correlation. So if it turns out that somebody has said publicly that they want to go be engaged in school shootings, or they want to, or peers and teachers think that they're likely to do mass murders, or they're animal torturers, which indicates very low social empathy, or various other things that actually are correlated, then we ought to have the capacity to free our police to do more than just issue a restraining order. Right,
and to your point, the National School Safety Center lists those things along with violent temper, a bully, bring school weapons to school, has been expelled from school, lacks for family supervision. Nicholas Cruz checks off of these boxes, almost all of them. Quickly before we go, Gina, mental health as a test for gun ownership. Where should we go with that?
Pretty darn scary. Maybe scarier than the stuff happening with the guns politically, because, Charles, who gets to determine who is mentally sound when about 70% of our population can currently be diagnosed as mentally off kilter, right, in some form or another, diagnosable by the DSM-5 as it stands now? Which government agency are we going to trust after the things we've seen out of our government agencies in recent weeks? Do we really want to turn our Second Amendment rights over to a government agency? I think we have to think long and hard before we decide who gets to review, who gets to audit your mental health records, Charles, or that of your children. We have to be very careful. This could be a very slippery slope as well.
Ladies, thank you both very, very much for those insightful comments. I appreciate it.